too many people there should have known. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Eddie and Jimmy, the podcast of the week. But we haven't got a Jimmy this week. We've got Sam Docherty who joins us. And Sam, coming off the bench for us, mate, as not the super sub, you are the man we'd love to have on the ground. We'd love to have a third chair for you. But thanks for coming in, mate. Apologise to everybody. It was my fault that Jim's not here because I've just come in from America. So we decided we'd go on a Tuesday because he's been carrying the team for a fair while. But thanks very much for joining us.
No worries. I'm turning into fill in, aren't I? I'm just sitting on the bench ready to go. And,
that's it.
I was you for a little bit, and now I'm Jimmy this week.
Exactly. Well, you must be getting sick of the McGuires as well because you're doing. Dan does footy with Xander, of course, with Dan Gorringe.
I am a bit sick of you too, actually. But it is nice. It's nice to be. It's nice to do an app with you, not have Jimmy. I just spend too much time with Jimmy as it is anyway.
It is.
So nice break from him as well.
Well, good Collingwood Carlton wildcard prelude.
This would be good
at the moment, so we could get stuck into it. Thanks to our friends at Fiji Airways. Thanks to Paul Scurra and all the team, and Hyundai. Fantastic as well there with the Alexio. Have you got into the Alexio yet? Go and do a test drive. Head to your local Hyundai dealer and have a test drive.
Of the Alexio.
And you get in it. It is absolutely fantastic. And as we've seen with the Straits of Hormuz being shut down again and the price is going up because the excise has gone back on, the electric cars, more than 50% of cars sold at the moment in Australia are hybrid or electric.
Well,
quite incredible.
I am in a Hyundai Santa Fe, but not in the Alexio. Maybe I'll have to swap it over.
Get into the new one. Visit FijiAirways.com and get on board for the Ski G holiday as well. Right, let's get stuck into it. First of all, mate, 2 rounds to go. The setup is now ready to go. We might actually have Collingwood Carlton in the first wild card. Could the AFL get that lucky? I mean, they've shot themselves in the foot right throughout season 2026. They might just get lucky and have a game that could equal the grand final as the wildcard game.
Oh, I think they are going to get lucky. Well, it's a big game of footy this week with the Blues versus the Dogs, and if the Blues get over the top on that one, then it turns very, very likely, which the AFL will be absolutely pumped. I know that the wildcard race as such is kind of simmering out a little bit, but the race for the top 4 is well and truly on, and one of the teams going for top 4 is going to end up in the wild card, and then the other game could be the Blues versus
and the legitimate sides because since Josh Fraser's been there, Carlton I think are just second on the ladder behind Fremantle. And just now. So you look at Carlton as that team coming through, and even the Pies have had injuries everywhere and seem to be able to just conjure enough wins to get there. But with any sort of luck, everyone will be coming back in the next couple of weeks. So it could be not only a great game, but they could cause a bit of trouble as they get into the finals proper.
Yeah, we're watching the finals the first year of this, and we have no idea what it's going to do and how it's going to represent come finals time. Winning it from 7th and 8th was really hard. Does the wild card help that because it gets a game in the books before then you play a team on a bye? That's going to prove a challenge for 5 and 6, but can you run the table? We won't know, and ultimately
that's what it's all about. I mean, when we brought in the bye was brought in for a couple of reasons. One, to stop the tanking, which it did, and the second part, which no one's picked up, was to turn the final 8, which was really a final 4. Because no one from outside the 4. The first year, everyone lost their mind because the Dogs got up and won it, and Brisbane have done it subsequently. But what it did mean was you at least had a puncher's chance of getting through from the bottom part of the 8. I think what this will do will make it a final 6, basically.
It's making it much harder for the teams having to play the extra game.
Yeah, it is. But
you never know. You never know. They might get on a roll, and then that playing of performance over and over again might actually help those teams. So we'll reserve after riding off the wild card at the start of the year and absolutely hating it. I've kind of come around to it, so I'll reserve my judgment until I see it for a year.
Well, my thoughts are actually to expand it out even further.
Go further.
Yeah, go further. What I would do, for example, this week would be a double elimination. So I would have dropped off the 2 bottom teams. They can play each other. So you'd have Richmond versus Essendon, and then 2 final 8s, the 16. And you play them through with the bottom teams being eliminated so that every game counts. The top teams are playing each other so that they actually play for positions. And then after 2 weeks of that, you're back to the final 8.
Final 8.
And away you go.
Well, it'd tick the box of games of consequences.
Every game would have a consequence. That's the point. Now, I look at the hairs on my own idea on this one, and what it could do is, though, you could be Fremantle, for example, and get knocked off the first 2 weeks and you could be out.
Yeah, which would the regular season would then.
No, when I say first 2 weeks, right? Not the first 2 weeks of the regular season, but when you get into the finals.
Yeah.
But anyway, it'll
be interesting. Well,
it works. It works. I mean, you're not going to. The only way you can have a perfect season is everyone plays everyone once or twice.
Yeah.
That's it. But by putting in those extra games at the end, if they're actually like for like, because you have a look at Geelong, and we're having a good look at Geelong at the moment, but Geelong's last 3 games are Essendon, where they smashed them last week. North Melbourne, now North are playing a bit better, so that makes it a little bit more enticing. And then Richmond in the last game of the season. Now, they've already gone past the Adelaide Crows on percentage, and the Crows have got Fremantle this week, so it does make a difference at the end of the season.
Yeah, it does.
3 live kills.
As you said, the way that the final structure is at the moment, the top 4 is going to be an absolute premium this year, and even probably more so because that 5 and 6 team has to play a team that's on a roll coming back into the season, and then performing off a bye isn't exactly the easiest thing when you're playing a team that's not. So, but in terms of your finals idea, I'm turning into maybe let's just leave it alone and let it breathe for a year or two, see what the quirks are, and then we make some moves from there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the next couple of years because there's quirks in the fixturing.
Yeah.
For example, next year we've got the sesquicentennial test match on in March, which means the season comes back.
Then Tassie comes in.
But not only that, you've got the NFL at the MCG, which will probably work this year because the way it's looking, there'll be 1 Melbourne final. So that'll give the MCG 36 hours to turn it around, or the best part of 24 hours to turn it around from the game on the Friday morning, the San Francisco 49ers and the LA Rams, for the game on the Saturday night would be when that game would probably be played. But because of the season going back a week, next year it could come up against 4 finals if it stays the way it is. So
it's been probably more luck than good planning.
Well, fingers crossed. I think it would have survived with 2 playing anyway, but with 4 potential on, that gets a bit dicey. So that's all being in discussion at the moment. So let's have a look. With 2 to go. A lot of teams, 8 teams kicked 100 points on the weekend, and whether it was the stand rule or I think more particularly players and coaches now having a running game, handballing forward, taking the game on, try and score. In the old days when Collingwood were playing, it would have gone ultra defensive with that team that they had. Instead, they said, right, let's go. And I think it was the first time for a couple of years that Collingwood had 100 points on the scoreboard at 3/4 time.
Mm. Yeah, I really like where the game on field is placed at the moment. I think there's a few little quirks. I think there's multiple ways you can win, and this is probably one of the years we're seeing teams play in different manners and it be really effective. There still is the defensive struggle where teams play forward half games. That's still present within the game. You've got Collingwood who defend really well out of their back half and play full grand transition. You've got Freo who's leading the league, playing more of a front half game. You've got the Blues who have changed their game mid-season, but largely playing a little bit like Brisbane with that kick mark. So I think the game's got a lot of different ways that it's being played at the moment. The high scoring's been a great part of that.
Can I dig into the Blues, because you were pretty vocal about the Blues in round 1, and that became a major story, one that I reckon you and Dan Gorin should put into the AFL Media Awards, to be perfectly honest. No, I'm being serious.
Non-purposeful Media Award.
Well, it doesn't matter. But your analysis was spot on. Okay, now you picked it. I mean, the one thing you'll find being in the media is no one gives you 3 cheers for being right and being right early. Jay Clark had to sit there with his story about Geelong for a week, getting belted around the ears. That's what happens. If you've got a good story, everyone tries to shoot it down. First of all, those who are trying to stop you breaking the story, and then your colleagues, so-called colleagues, or your opponents, or the people you're competing with, they just absolutely can it as much as they possibly can. And then the race comes on to see who can then top it.
Yeah.
And that's where we are with this. The reporting of the Geelong thing got ahead of itself, but largely because the AFL shot themselves in the foot. We'll come back to that in a moment and have a good chat about it. It's been interesting.
Work through it well.
Being overseas, just watching it all unfold in front of me, it was quite
Probably
incredible.
Been quite good. You haven't had a microphone in front of you.
Well, this is the first time. But it was quite funny because I'm sitting there watching it all happen. By Monday, I was actually the chair of the AFL Commission.
Well, that's what I've heard today is you are going on to the commission.
Is that right? Okay.
According to Tom Morris?
Time will tell. All right. We'll talk about that in a few moments. But coming back to the game itself, that Melbourne, a really good win and a great game of footy. And I don't think Fremantle, I mean, I know people go, they can't win on the MCG. It was as close to a win as you could ever have. with the captain out, Pearce in defence, and Mason Cox got ahead of himself on 2 occasions. So Mason just, mate,
He's
come back,
your boy.
come back in. Exactly. Just got to give him a clip. All right, mate. Leave the Hollywood. Stay over here.
Yeah.
But it was a great game of footy.
Yeah, it was one of the games of the year, and this is what Stephen King's really brought into Melbourne is he's found comfort with this group living on the outside of games in that transition world. Max Gawn in stoppage, and they're still Sparrow. They've got a core group in their midfield that are really strong in that facet of the game, but their ability just to play on the outside, and they'll force you to play the way that they want to play. Yeah. They're going to open up spaces. They're going to live in that, and they've played so well across the year doing it.
And if their mid-range players can step up, so Sharp did, and beautiful goal, the soccer goal was a ripper. Petty.
Petty played
and it was
really
good
well.
to see him stand up, and I loved him rubbing his own head. Afterwards, shaved his head so he didn't get his the hair ruffled. But I love that. I just thought, good on you. You've stood up in the furnace on the MCG. Well done to you. So, a lot to like at Melbourne, and particularly in a year that has had so much turmoil. At that club. I mean,
the off-field stories there. It's amazing that they've been able to stay.
Yeah.
As consistent and on the right path across their season on field, because there has been a lot of mess in the outside world in the footy club, from the board, the CEO, through to the situations that are off field at the moment. They've been able to kind of stay within their group, and you hear clubs always talk about, let's just worry about what's inside the 4 walls. It feels like Stephen King's got that group believing in what they're doing and really focused in on.
And enjoying themselves.
And focused in on what they needed to do.
I mean, that place was a madhouse. They had players, the behaviours off the field, punching on with each other. It was a miracle that it probably took COVID, for them to be able to have that difference, to be able to get themselves together to win that year. They were fantastic. But, Stephen King, we had him on Footy Classified a couple of weeks back. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
You can actually see and feel.
You can feel the authenticity of him and how that's rubbed off on the group. He's one of the coaches of the year for me.
And it's an interesting one, because I was going to say Tex Walker announced his retirement during the week, and he's a player who has had his ups and downs. I mean, I remember he was a young player and he was having a beer in the outer.
Yeah, I remember that one. Sitting in the stand.
Yeah, boy from Broken Hill, he's having a beer. Why wouldn't you at the footy? And everyone lost their mind. And then, of course, he had a real issue with the racism, but he stood up to that and got on top of it and recanted and has worked really hard and rebuilt himself as a figure in the community. So you can do those things. You can make mistakes. And it's an interesting one when we get to talking about Geelong, which we're probably doing after is the next subject. But looking from afar, one of the things the AFL have got to stop doing is stop trying to think that they're omnipotent, that they are blameless, that they have no sin. They're not.
None of it's their fault.
They haven't got papal infallibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Relax. When I first became president of Collingwood, I didn't sleep, I reckon, for the first few years, worrying about what could happen, right? Worrying because, before that I was a journo and was out running around with everyone, with Dermot and all the guys, so I knew what was going on. But you always worried about these things. Oh, what if this happens, and the sponsors and the this and that. And then after a while you just go, righto, we're well equipped that if something happens, and it will happen. That's why you have managers. That's why you have management. That's why you have the AFL. The AFL there is to adjudicate on behalf of the clubs and to actually lean in on certain issues. But if you go into these things and don't think at some stage you're going to have somebody say something stupid, do something stupid, something blows up out of nowhere. So for me, the biggest mistake I think of, let's get into the Geelong thing.
We'll go straight to the Geelong. We can go there.
The biggest mistake I reckon that happened was the AFL believing they had to get into the news cycle. Okay? Now, from somebody who used to run the news cycle, as far as chasing stories on the phone, knocking on people's door, doing all those things, that was what my life was from, basically the time I was 13, but from Channel 10 where I made my name and everything else. So I understand that. Later on, what you've got to be able to say is not yet. We are going through the process. If the AFL had have just put the brakes on and gone back and said, righto,
let's figure this out. Let's get all the details that we need before we can make it.
So who are we trying to placate here? Right? We're worried about the media. We're worried about the Players Association. We're worried about the do-gooders in society. I don't say that as a pejorative, but good-hearted people who are going, oh, but the players, you've got to look after them, it's their health and safety and all the rest of it. I look at Geelong, and the first thing I looked at and thought, they're protecting their doctors, they're protecting their club, they're protecting their board, they're giving College Asney a chance to be able to play his career. But, mate, the AFL have let us down with the panel who invented a new colour.
Yeah, they've gone to orange. Amber.
We've gone to amber, yeah. So we went from red, green, suddenly there's amber. So it made all the sense in the world to do what they did, Geelong. What they didn't do properly was actually put it in the contract. So, I mean, this is still to unfold, but I would suggest they've got a $70,000 good behaviour bond from their salary cap issues as far as administration's concerned.
Yeah, nobody's been talking about that one.
Yeah, well, here we are.
Here we are.
So it starts at 70, and I reckon they get a big whack for just, because too many people there should have known. I mean, Hawks was the bloke who should have known. So that should have gone through. What I'm really keen to find out, though, and this might happen by the time this goes to air because it's all happening on this Tuesday afternoon, is who knew at the AFL and what were the email exchanges?
Yeah.
Was it tacit support? But leave that, because there's a couple of different departments on this. Straight away, they should be absolutely fined for not getting their contract right. After that, it's a really good, and I keep hearing complex. It's not that complex. You've just got to actually get it right. It's complex for the Cats because they were trying to sort out for so many different people. But then as soon as the pressure came on, everyone just went to bed.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was, we shouldn't have done it. We went too far. Instead of going, no, and I'll declare my interest. I said this on Footy Classified the last 2 years. The NCAA in America and the college football and any other contact sport, whether it's boxing or ultimate fighting or gridiron or even in some of the soccer leagues where they're heading, you have to say this is a contact sport. So can I ask you, you came back from 2 knees, 2 bouts of cancer. Did anyone sit down with you and say, mate, we love your courage, but you really, maybe you should be relaxing or doing something else there? Did you have any of those conversations? What was the hardest part in the comeback for you?
No, not for me in those examples. I think that my last knee when I was coming back in 6 months, it wasn't a waiver, but there was a discussion around if my knee goes again, well, we won't be able to offer you a contract. So that discussion was had in terms of, but that was more verbal and understanding the risk of what we were doing. I'm the same belief of you around this. The Geelong example for me is it's kind of twofold. There's the example around the governance of Geelong, of what they did in terms of the agreement, sitting behind closed doors without the AFLPA manager or the AFL.
Yep.
And there's enough experience down in that Geelong boardroom and management to know that everything goes through the AFL.
So stop there. So I think everyone's in vigorous agreement. That was wrong.
Yeah, so that's wrong.
So all right. So the AFL
put that one in a box.
Have to look at that and go, righto, here's what we're doing here.
Yeah. So that's one part of it. The second part is around what you said around the codes in America, is where does the AFL go with concussion moving forward in terms of where can we go in terms of the AFL industry? We're trying to get concussion out of the game. We're doing as much as we can. At some stage, we have to admit that it's going to be a risk in the game. And where does that, from a protection point of view, go from players and the AFL in contract? Yeah. Where is the signing? Where is this kind of waiver going to sit within the standard playing contract? That's the secondary discussion.
So I think where we are is that everyone's still hoping that no one notices you get head.
But we're so far past that.
We have to be, but I don't think they've caught up. See, don't forget, it's not that long ago. John Kennedy, who was chairman of the AFL Commission as a coach, was famously said at Hawthorn and at North Melbourne, injuries above the neck don't count.
Yeah.
Right? That was it. That was his quote. And you know what everyone did in football in those days? Yeah.
We went straight back out there.
Intestinal fortitude, get out there and play. Sheeds put Barry Stoneham back on. Not Barry Stoneham, Alan Stoneham, when Dipper got him at it to Windy Hill that time. Put him back on. He couldn't go in, so I was hanging out, and it was get out there and show them we're not going to be intimidated.
So we've come a long way from there.
Well, yeah, we have, but we still were putting on, Petrarca a couple of years ago. So what happens is the doctors now just won't do it. They don't want to make the call anymore. No one wants to make the call. So let me put it to you. Let's role play here, okay? And I probably should be the president, but I'm going to get you to be the president, okay? Because you've been the leader of a football club. You get it, okay? And we can both play each other's roles as we go here, okay? So College Asney goes in, he gets an amber light and comes back. And I know it, you go, you're kidding, aren't you? What does amber mean? Righto. You want to keep playing, do you? Yep. You probably say to the coach, yeah, do we want him or not? Because I know people keep writing these things. Yeah, you do get extras if you're the best player on the side. Because that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
The idea is to win. Yeah. So you're not going to risk it on somebody who might be your number 28 player or 34 player on the list. But if he's a player. Now, also let's remember he did play every game last year and has had no issues with concussion issue. So he's got 2 extra seasons and possibly more based on the AFL Commission or Tribunal saying, no, he's not quite over the edge.
Not over the edge. But
what's the next one? Is it a bump at training or do you ever get cleaned up? We don't know what happens there. So anyway, it comes up to you and goes to the club doctors because you turn to the club doctor as a chairman, as the CEO. What do you reckon? He goes, mate, we got one of the biggest class actions coming with Max Rook. We had Egan who did his foot that time and now they played back and never played again. It's everywhere at the moment. This is not my call. Yeah, so then
it almost goes from this side. It's like, well, this is the reason why we send it off to an independent panel is because they make the call.
Yeah,
but then they've come back and put it back on us.
The job of a board is to protect the club.
Yeah.
And everyone in it, including the players. So if you're sitting there, you're probably more likely than not, as a director, to say, ta-da. Yeah. No, we're not going to take that risk.
Well, I think realistically, yeah. I think that if that was part of the decision making, and that's where they've gone. Well, how can we try and protect ourselves to be able to give Jake a longer career? It's the logical thing to do. It's the process of how they do it. That's the issue that I think everyone's got is. Yeah.
But I think everyone went nuts about, they were setting him up to, Peter Jess said, it's like modern day slavery. We're just got to.
No, I don't think it's that. I think they were trying to protect their footy club in the best way that they thought was possible.
But also their doctors.
Yeah, and their
coaches.
And their people. But the bit that always sits is they should have known 100% that had to be signed off by the AFL.
Totally.
And that's the whole
but they've got to get a proper whacking.
100%, and I think they will, and rightfully so. I didn't even know the suspended sentence of the 70 game. I think they will get a proper whack, and where it leads to in terms of, I know, people's jobs and stuff. I don't know exactly how far it ends up.
So
stretching.
You know what I do? You know what the problem is, I think as well, Doc, is that because it's going to be a monetary. Now.
Generally, that's not palatable for the fans, generally.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You can get through that, okay? I mean, it ends up coming back in different shapes or form. And it also, in that situation, if you don't do it, supporters are saying, well, we want him to play, just pay it. What's wrong with you? We'll have a fundraiser. I mean, Geelong got their own issues with blokes raising money for them. They've got a few issues at the moment, the Cats. But
we're not going into there, are we, today?
If Tom Morris did appoint me to be the chair of the AFL,
have you had the call yet or no?
No, but I'd really look at things, because there's a different way of administrating and being in the media. In the media, you come up with different ideas and discuss things. But I would look at it this way: I would be a lot more punitive. Right, and I would be fines would come out of the soft cap, right, because the decision makers have to live with that, not the marketing department. And I'd also have points. Now that we have points as far as the draft is concerned,
a points cap. Yeah. So you're not losing draft picks, but you're losing draft places almost.
Yeah,
and index points.
Yeah, and you can have that for different things. So, what's the one thing you don't want to lose as a club?
Draft capital,
I
future.
mean, your old club was still screaming about it, 25 years later.
It only set us back about 10 years.
Well, again, it was a convenient excuse to hang on to for a long time. Most clubs muck up a draft here or there. So my point would be there. But what that does then is it focuses your club and you go, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
At the moment, the risk is not playing the bloke because there's a ready played body ready to go who end up, as I said, played every game last year and most of this year. So you've got to actually make it so that there is a decision to be made.
Yeah.
It's too grey at the moment. So, that's my 2 bobs worth on it.
Yeah, it's a real.
But I actually, it's like your wayward kids sometimes. You've got to give it to them and then you've got to hug them.
Yeah.
I totally understand where Geelong were going on this. They mucked up the administration.
Absolutely. And I think that's it.
And they should be whacked for the administration.
100%.
And what we have to do is don't misuse it. Don't waste a crisis, as they say.
No, and that's probably that's the bit is use this as a platform of like, all right, well, this is a complex issue in the game.
Yep.
How can we best solve it moving forward? That's best for the game, clubs, and players.
But I think also the Players Association and the players themselves, to a degree, players are usually pretty good. But the Players Association, they're there and they go, right, well, we're the union. We have to show we're tough.
Yeah.
And especially when they put out a joint press release the other day. I don't know what they were doing with that. But they tumbled into that one. And now they've got to sort of toughen up, or seem to be. They have to take into effect everybody in football clubs now.
Yeah.
So the doctors, you tell me, how important the club doctors?
Hugely important. But to your point before, it's getting to a point of like, why would you want to be a AFL club doctor? You're just actually opening yourself up for so much legislation and so much risk.
Yeah.
That doctors could go work in their own practices and just
don't
earn
forget,
as much money.
Now that the insurers have bailed out, there's only one way to get money if you're in a situation. It's the sue.
Yeah. And ultimately, there's another discussion point around the insurance of players and the insurance for concussion.
Well, Peter Gordon,
we've got a lot of things. There's a lot of live issues in one spot, isn't there?
Yeah, and that's why you need the commission. To sit down and forget about the niceties, because when you make decisions, generally you've made a good decision in business or in sports and things like this when everyone's equally angry at you. Okay. No one ever. There's no
thank you.
No one ever goes, yeah, you beauty. That's a great idea. At the start of the year, you hated the wild card round. Now the Carlton are going to play in one. You think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
More than happy.
Exactly.
We might make the 8 anyway, Ed. So don't worry.
Well, exactly. But so that's to me where it's at, and so there's a bit to be done on it. But I think we need to come together and say, right, what is best for the game? Particularly the players.
Mm-hmm.
So we have
the clubs.
You have to save the players from themselves.
Absolutely.
But you also can't make it so that the contact sport is not there. Otherwise, it's not.
But that's what at the moment that's where it feels like it's heading. It's either we're heading down the path of we're going to rip contact out of AFL footy, and you can only go so far down that way before you lose.
Totally. Well, if you listen to this show enough, or Footy Classified, you've heard me say it a million times. If you want to make it Gaelic football, let's do it. Let's have stand-up tackles. Let's do all the things you need to do. You can make the rules to stop all that happening if that's what you want.
Yeah.
If you want to have the game that we have right now, we've taken the brutality out of it, thank God, because that was just ridiculous back in the 70s and the 80s. It was just horrific. So many good players just gave up once they got to senior football.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, in Broadmeadows, if you're any good, if you didn't make the VFL in those days, you didn't play. Because you just get your head kicked in every Saturday afternoon, and particularly grand finals. That's why Terry Danaher got rubbed out in the 1990 grand final, because the suburban grand finals had just become a war zone. People were being brought in to run around as enforcers and smash the star on the other side, king hitting blokes before games and things like that. So we've come so far.
Yeah, and for the better, and that's where you got to. As much as the AFL's coming away, you got to give props to the AFL for getting it to where the game is. But it does feel like we're on that knife's edge of how far can we actually go.
It's quite funny. I sometimes do think counterintuitively. Craig Drummond's probably the right bloke to be the chair at the moment because he exactly knows where it's at.
Yeah.
He sent himself a please explain this week and answered it.
Yeah. It's a rare set of circumstances, isn't it?
Yeah. But he would have gone, we said it already. Yeah, we got that wrong. And he said we overstretched into this. Well, I don't know if they did. They got that wrong. They needed to sort that out. Yeah. Anyway, we'll certainly get to a position.
By the time this comes out, there might be a whole new set of issues that are coming out.
But as I keep saying, that's why you have management in every level of life. That's where politicians get it wrong. They legislate. They think legislating is where you actually, and the AFL have done this, by changing a rule or adding a rule, that's where it's at. Kerry Packer, in that famous Senate inquiry when he talked about paying tax, he also had the best line he had in there often doesn't get run, and that is he says you should have to repeal a law every time you put a new one in. Otherwise, imagine the 10 commandments be 120 commandments these days.
More, wouldn't it?
Imagine that. That's the old gag, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's very interesting where the AFL's at the moment and where things are going on and off field. There's just...
Do you know the old 10 commandments gag? Moses comes down off the mountain. He says, I've got good news and bad news. They go, what's the good news? I got him down to 10. What's the bad news? Adultery's still in. Boom, boom.
Oh, Ed.
Righto. Let's get on to our favourite topics. Carlton. We want Fraser. It's the Collingwoodisation of Carlton. Fraser.
It's
Graham Wright.
Yeah.
You're starting to look like a club again.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you've sent a couple over our way that are going to end up in a net positive as opposed to some of the others before him.
Yeah.
But I commentated the game on Sunday night and have watched the Blues. Fraser couldn't have done much more right in terms of the way he's handled himself. Yeah. So just personally, in terms of his humility and his ability to calmness across the footy club, calmness across the group. He's also pulled the right levers from a game plan perspective. He's got them playing really good defensive football that's intent on working together, as unselfish nature, and then they just look on the same page, both offensively and defensively. He couldn't have done any more right than what he's done. And off the back of that, at the end of the game, back into the fourth quarter, they're chanting, "We want Fraser," and then as he walks off the crowd, he's greeted like he's the best man in the world. So,
but then again, I thought his post-match interviewer said, "Look, not about me."
Yeah, but that's him. That's you probably know him better than I do.
Absolutely.
He coached at the footy club when I was there a long time ago. That he's authentically him, and that is what's making him more appealing to the job because he fits the seat. And this is different coaches fit different seats. He fits the Carlton seat at the moment of what the club needs in terms of him as a person, him as a coach, but then ultimately what's happening on field. It seems like a no-brainer, but we're still waiting to hear whether he actually wants to be part of it.
Probably a good thing to wait till they actually get to the wild card.
Yeah, I think the decision of whether he's in the process should happen this week.
Oh yeah, look, but he's in the process.
And then Chris Davies said that they'll have their coach by the end of the.
But look, he's in the process because Righty and those guys are already deciding whether.
But publicly, he's not.
Yeah, but you can do all that. But I think there's a couple of good picks. But he positioned himself well. Yeah, it's a bit hard to actually look at him and go, well, no, we don't like what he's doing.
No, that's.
It's going to be actually harder to justify him not getting the job than justifying him getting the job now.
And that's kind of where it's got to now. It would be a really big call by Graham and the other selection committee to go with someone that's unknown now, given the known quantity of what he is.
Couple of quick ones. North sacked Clarko the week before. Now he's a genius again. I was texting Clarko when they were all turning on him last week. And suddenly he was a genius again by last week when they knocked off the Dogs. That was a really good win for the Kangas.
Yeah, it was.
And also, I was enormously proud of Collingwood.
Yes, and you should be.
Well, I said here last week that this was a danger game. That the West Coast would set themselves. It was a young team going over there and having to win. Because there was a big chance that if the Pies lost, they'd miss the wild card.
Yes, yeah, there was a huge.
Yeah.
I wasn't barracking for that because I'm unbiased in the media these days.
Unbiased. Who's unbiased in the media?
But it's the two examples. The North example, having not beaten anyone above them for the year, it was a really nice step for them as a footy club to be able to take a scalp of the Dogs in the top 10. And to the Collingwood example, Craig McRae is just coaching so well. Is
he ever?
The ability to be able to plug and play players into his system that just it doesn't affect performance too much. And some of the wins they've had this year, when everyone's written them off, it's just. And I know it was against West Coast, who are down the bottom of the ladder and a young side, but still to go over there, travel over there with a young group, it was a really good.
I thought Harley Reid played well too on one league. I thought he was fantastic. But for the Pies, for Craig McRae, sometimes it can be easy to say, well, you're coaching and you've got Pendlebury out there, you've got Sidebottom who are both great players who can control a game. The Dacos have got that innate ability to point where to go.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of, Howe at the back line, and you've got a lot of seasoned players who can do it. Suddenly he's got all the under-21s, and they came in and played their role.
Yeah, it shows you how well they know the system and how well it's taught down there.
And the Bombers will make a decision. Well, they have to because it's nearly next year. So they've got to do it at some stage.
Well, they've only got 2 weeks left, really, don't they?
Well,
so, do you have any? I'm testing you here. Do you have any mail on when it will be announced?
No, I don't, but I haven't asked either. So, I mean, as I said, they've got to get in because they've got to start talking to players.
Yes.
It was reported that Hurdy's out talking to players already if he gets the job. I'll go back to the Prez. Right off the start, we said on this show that James Hird wasn't his number one pick, but he wanted Hurdy to be at the club. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think Hurdy will take a position of football director, but it's be interesting to see whether Mark McVeigh would.
Yeah. Or sit underneath. That's the secondary thing. It's like it seems like James is only in if he's the senior coach, which fair enough. But then how they build if he's chosen, how they build a department around him, who they bring under, because James has been out of the game for a long period of time. I'm not a big prescriber into that being super influential for a coach, but you need some good tactical minds underneath that are attached to the game currently.
But he hasn't gone stupid.
No, but it's still in terms of
I think he's had one of the greatest learning experiences anyone could ever have.
Absolutely.
It nearly killed him. Literally,
yeah.
But working and doing deals and things out of New York City and out of Wall Street, but he has been involved down at Port Melbourne. I know that's a different thing, but you are watching and you're learning. I think he's learnt skills on how to bring kids through. Oddly enough, he actually coached my boys in the under-11s. That was his first coaching gig, and even then, I could tell he had that touch.
Yeah.
He knew how to get kids to play, and they were only little boys. But you could just tell he's got a bit of magic dust about him.
I am intrigued that if he does get the role, who's going with him? Because it seems like he's got things ready-made to go and almost announce straight away, these are the guys that are coming with me, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated to see how it all plays out.
Well, I think he wants to be the club coach, not just the team coach. And I think he'll bring in money, sponsors, players. His panel is absolutely locked and ready to go.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, let's go. Rub it in. Is this? Hey, look at this. Did you like when you're a kid?
Oh, there's no better smell than the change rooms of deep heat.
I hated it when they brought that cream in that wasn't deep heat there for a while.
They need to bottle it up and put it.
Should just
spray
it around the place. It's fantastic. It's an aphrodisiac. Forget about those candles. We should get those candles you've got.
Deep heat candle.
Get the deep heat candle going.
There's a business idea.
There it is
for deep heat. Make some candles.
The deep heat, the extra strength is there. Feel at work. Always read the label and follow the directions for use. So the main thing is make sure you wash your hands before you go to bed. Otherwise, you scratch yourself in the wrong spot. You'll know all about it. And the ice gel is magnificent as well. Right. What's yours, Sam? What's your big go? What have you been cracking on about all year?
I have been. Well, I do my own podcast. I'm cross promoting here, but I do my own podcast, and the dogs have been.
Who do you do that with?
Well, I do my own by myself, and then I do the other DDF one with your son. He's on there as well. Yeah. But I've been speaking about the dogs and how their profile has been worrying across the whole year, and then to finally get exposed against North Melbourne, that they sit 14th across a number of key metrics in what I look at in terms of the game, and to see that finally get exposed, I'm a bit worried for them in the back half of the year. But equally on the other side, one on North Melbourne.
Yep, and mine will be quick. Having a disclaimer clause in the standard player contract for concussion, and get ready for it, and for drugs as well. Because guess what? The two actually combine. I don't know if you think about this, Doc, but if you take mind-altering drugs, you know what they do? They alter your mind. Who
would have thought?
Who would have thought? So this is one, we'll kick one right down there because we like to extrapolate ideas here. But I'll give you the tip. If anybody who's got concussion goes in a full-on legal case to sue down the track, there's no doubt in the world, if you're suing me in that situation, I'm subpoenaing the AFL's drug.
The drug clause.
The drug results.
Well, drugs and alcohol. And we saw all impact to the brain and swelling. And
young Pickett got concussed the other day, had to apologise, or came out because he got out in the grog. That's the clause that you've got to have in there. It's not a clause to get rid of a player or do anything else. It's these are the things you must do as a senior player getting paid very good money these days. You must look after own health. As I keep saying all the time in these things, the number one rule in life is you must look after yourself first. Right? And then it takes care of everything. It's a bit like the rules the AFL have brought in to stop concussion. You've got to be able to protect yourself. We should be encouraging people getting their chin down, turning into a bump rather than going in head first and expecting a duty of care from you. Duty of care is from me to look after me, and if you look after you, then we're going to look after each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
I think
I'm not against the clause in the contract, that's for sure.
Anyway, that's my deep eat, rub it in. Okay, good. So you're in for the clause. The Jamal Medal. Max Hall gets 1. Matt Rao gets 2. Good comeback from Matt Rao. And a good win by Gold Coast. Won't go on too much about it because they've had an ordinary year. But after, was it 10 in a row?
10 in a row, yeah.
That was a good win.
And Matty Rao led from the front with
he was fantastic.
A very, very good game.
And 3 to Nick Dacos, says Jamal. Righto, the Bartel Medals. You can read them out. Who's this?
You want me to read them out?
Yeah, here's the 3.
Well, I'll go the 3s. Nick Dacos gets 3. LDU gets 3. Curtis 3. Lohman 3. He was outstanding, actually. Kai Lohman for Brisbane. Pickett 3. Amos 3. Goulden 3. Dempsey 3, Rankin 3, Matty Rao 3, and Max Hall 3 as well. He had a huge game, Max
the
Hall.
2s, Neil, Ashcroft, Morris, Sparrow, Kernow, Smith, Campbell, Andrew, McStay, Reid, Walsh, Dean. And the 1s?
Answorth, Gawn, Jackson, Petty, Dawson, Warner, Sarong, Took Miller, and Lockie Schultz.
Good stuff. All right, the leaderboard. Dacos, 41 votes.
He's going to break the record on Brownlow night, isn't he?
You'd think so.
45?
I don't know if there's any game. There might have been 1 or 2 games where he hasn't.
Yeah, there's maybe 2, I reckon.
Yeah.
Not many.
I don't know.
Very, very good year. And
it depends, though.
Thoroughly deserved.
Don't forget, it's the umpires, and he wears black and white stripes.
Yeah.
Okay? Right. Bont, 36. Naz, 27. Gorney, 25. Cozzy, 23. Ashcroft, 23. Jordan Dawson, 22. That's been a big comeback from Will Ashcroft too.
Yeah, he's had an outstanding, probably 8 to 10 week period now.
He's on fire. So too the Brisbane Lions. Okay. All right. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. We've got your questions locked and loaded, ready to go. Don't forget, thanks to our good friends at Deep Heat, and their ice gel is sensational. Get a holiday. Start booking now. Go to Fiji for a magnificent trip and head down to Hyundai and test drive the new Alexio. That is Sam Docherty. I'm Eddie McGuire, and that was Eddie and Jimmy.